What's up guys, it's Ian here back today with another video, and in this video I wanted to talk to you about the problem with Tinder. This video isn't fitness related, but if you clicked on it, you already saw the title, so you already knew that. For a long time, I just thought of it as a tool, and of course it is a useful tool to meet people. Statistically, I've met about 46% of the girls that I've talked to using internet-based services. That includes every single dating app, other ways to meet people online such as Instagram, Facebook. 46% of the girls that I've talked to, I've met using the internet. That means that 53 or 54% of the girls that I've met, I had to meet them in real life. Whether that's parties, cold approach, I had to actually go up to them and talk to them. I don't consider parties or bars a form of cold approach because that's more like a hot approach. You're already in a social setting. It doesn't really count as cold approach. Cold approach is more like just approaching someone on the sidewalk in public. I don't even think approaching a girl on a university campus really counts as cold approach because you're kind of already in that group of people that they're in. So it's kind of a setup. It's kind of a preset approach. It's a warm approach. Maybe it's not a hot approach like something like a bar or a nightclub, but it is still not quite a cold approach because you're both students. You have presumably something in common to both be there. Anyways, that's a bit of background behind the statistics of, I've had to actually approach 53% of the girls that I've been with, and 46% were from online dating. Where am I going with this? I actually know some guys who have met 100% of the girls that they've met in real life. So those guys are going to tend to be more socially adept, better at talking to people, less likely to fumble with their words, less awkward socially. And I know guys who 80 or 90% of the girls they've talked to, they've met using online services, dating apps, and other things of that type. So now I'm going to get into the main point of this video, the problem with Tinder and other dating apps. This isn't inherently just a problem with Tinder, it's a problem with all dating apps. While they are a useful tool, as I touched on in the beginning of this video, they're also kind of like a crutch, because if you have really good results using online dating, it never forces you to learn how to approach people in public. You never learn that skill set of cold approach, going up, striking a conversation with somebody, and then trying to close from there. And a lot of people in society think that that's like a scummy thing to do, but to be honest, I don't think it is. I think if you asked the average girl, they probably wouldn't think so either. It's just that a lot of guys react badly when they get rejected. I think once you cold approach enough people, mind you, that 53% of people that I had to approach in real life, I mean, I took maybe hundreds of rejections, thousands of rejections to talk to as many girls as I have. Unless you're like some super Chad, 6'2", super jacked, nice car, rich guy, like you're not even gonna have like a really high close rate. Even those guys might not have a super high close rate. You might see them with like really hot girls, right? And that kind of makes you feel as if their close rate is just obscene. Yes, their close rate is much higher than an average guy, but the problem is essentially that a lot of guys, they're not developing the skill set to approach girls in real life. A lot of these guys are meeting like 80 or 90% of the girls that they've talked to using online services. And now I'm really getting into the problem of dating services in general. Essentially, now that we're in a pandemic and we're locked down, it becomes a lot harder to cold approach people. I mean, you can definitely still do it, and I think the girls who are into it are even more receptive to it than they typically would be. There's probably just less people running cold approach right now in the middle of a pandemic. In California, everybody's still wearing masks, so it's kind of awkward. There's actually really not that many people walking around in the town that I live in. All of that aside, I think the big problem with these internet services, even though it's a useful tool and past the point where it can become a crutch, is that it gives these tech companies too much power. We already talk about how YouTube basically has a monopoly on creator content that can be monetized. Of course, you can make your own vlogging websites and get click-through, and you can get advertisement sales on that type of thing. But let's be honest, a lot of people just use YouTube. They have a lineup of all their favorite YouTubers. You wake up, you get all the notifications. You're like, okay, I'll add all of these to my watch later and watch them throughout the day when I have the chance. That's how a lot of people utilize YouTube. And perfect example, when Joe Rogan went to Spotify, I haven't watched a single Joe Rogan podcast ever since he became Spotify exclusive. I don't own the Spotify app. I've never used it. I used to watch tons of Joe Rogan's podcasts back when he was on the YouTube platform, and now I don't watch him anymore. So where am I going with this? If you don't build up the social skills to approach people in real life, and then you get, let's say, banned from using these dating services. Let's say like one day Google owns like 100% of all the dating apps, and you never developed the social skills to approach people in real life, and then you get banned off all the dating apps. Well, then you're just not going to be able to meet people almost at all, or you're going to have to start up from the ground developing those social skills. And there's a lot more forgiveness for younger guys or people who look younger, kind of stumbling over their words, being socially awkward, basically doing badly at cold approach. It's more acceptable for a guy in his 20s to kind of be bad at cold approach, but just do it and kind of get that out of the way. But once you're kind of in your 30s, 40s, you're kind of expected to be socially adept, good at cold approach. You should be able to do that. And if you don't develop those skills earlier on, and then you get kind of handicapped by getting, banned from online dating services or whatever, it is a bigger hurdle to overcome later in life, and it can be more stigmatized. The way society will treat you if you are just learning cold approach in your 30s or 40s, it looks a bit strange. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I think you should do it. You should still do it. But ultimately, this video is about how I think just the concentration of power is getting too great. It's kind of like the analogy of how, let's say, like if Walmart or Amazon, they fully gain a monopoly and they become like the only grocery stores, like all the Targets, the Trader Joe's, all the other small grocery stores all close, and the only places you can buy stuff are like Walmart or Amazon, and then you get banned from using Walmart or Amazon or Costco or whatever the big box store in your town is. Well, then you're kind of screwed. You have to go to the next town over for all your stuff, or you have to go really far out of your way to achieve the same effect that you would have had if you hadn't gone against the grain. Now, there should be some penalty for kind of, breaking societal rules, but then you get into the conversation of who sets these societal rules. Then you get into this gray area where you have sometimes just one or two massive companies with monopolies over our commonly used internet products, such as Google, YouTube, Tinder, Amazon. The list goes on. There are some of these really commonly used services that kind of concentrate power, and if you don't have a framework of how to exist and maintain your way of life without these companies and services, you could be setting yourself up for a lot of difficulty in the future. I've been thinking about making this video for a while. I just got around to making it because it's raining and today's an off day from exercise. I wanted to give you some YouTube videos to watch. Let me know what you think about this down in the comment section below. Drop a like if you thought it was relevant, and let me know what you'd like to see in the next video. As always, thank you for watching this video, and have a good day.